Hey, it's Dave back with number 2 in our series of 20 stories from 20 years in 20 days. And it's day 2. And over the years, we've gotten food sources from so many different people. We've served over 175,000 meals in Bellwood to kids free of charge. And that's been our tool. Some people use sports and games, activities. Some people use academics and homework help and things like that. At the door, I use the family dinner table. We just sit down with a kid, share a meal together, and we talk about life. And we have been able to lead hundreds of kids to Christ, actually over 1,000 teenagers, come to know the Lord just by breaking bread together, or pizza, or donuts, or whatever else God has given us over the years. I remember a journey of faith with all of this, and some years we've scraped together whatever we could, some days to make a meal, and some days we've had an abundance. But some days I've never known how to answer a question when somebody asks if we could take a large quantity of supplies. Well, one day I got the question, and I know certain corporate donors, when they want to make a donation, they want a yes or they want a no. And if you say no, they don't call you again. They need people who will say yes when they need to donate something and offload product. They need a tax write-off, they need to unload it, and they want a yes or they don't call you again. And I remember I had never been called before by the Walmart distribution center in Bedford. And I got a phone call, and they asked, could you take 400 rotisserie chickens? Now, we didn't have walk-in refrigerator. We didn't have a walk-in freezer. I had a couple of chest freezers in our garage. 400 rotisserie chickens. That's a lot of chicken. I did not know what I could do with that. It was 40 cases of 10 chickens. I didn't know what I'd do. And I'm like, what could I do with those? And I remembered the Reapers program at First Baptist of Altoona, because when my wife and I first got here, we needed food to help us survive, and we had gotten food from them. And so I called them up. I knew they were feeding at least 150 families a month back then. Now it's over 300, but back then it was about 150. And I said, could you use, if we took 100 chickens, could you take 300? Because I want to say yes to these people. And I was praying and I'm asking Jesus, is this just a distraction, a good distraction, but a distraction? Because it was the week before our winter camp. Or are you providing and I need to say yes and figure this out? I said yes. And I went and got 400 chickens, and we gave 300 to the Reapers. And it was a lot of work to put them away and store them. We definitely had chicken at winter camp. I figured God willed that. But 2 weeks later, I got another call. Could you take 800 chickens? Oh my goodness. What was Jesus up to? I had no idea. This was 2 years before COVID. Pretty soon we were renting a box truck with the Reapers ministry, first once a month, then twice a month. Pretty soon they were calling us, could you come every week and get a 26-foot box truck of food? Then they were saying, hey, you need a truck that has a refrigerator unit. There needs to be, you need refrigerators to put this stuff in. You need walk-in coolers. And then COVID hit. And I knew if there was ever a community emergency, the Door Food Pantry, that we could cook more food, that we could put out more food than we were doing if there was ever an emergency. But I never pictured something like the COVID shutdown. But God knew. He was preparing us all along the way. And when it happened, we were able to give out, with the Reapers and our other ministry partners all over Blair County and up in Northeast, over $2 million in groceries and meals all over the place. No child hungry. No one turned away. Why? Because one day somebody said, could you take 400 chickens? And I didn't know whether I should say yes or no. But Jesus whispered, say yes. And so I said yes, not knowing how I'd ever handle it, not knowing what it would ever grow into. So can I tell you something? When God asks you something and you don't know how you'll ever do it, saying yes to 400 chickens seems like a small thing when 2 weeks later he asks you to say yes to 800. And later you're saying yes to millions of dollars of food to feed the hungry when the entire country is in a crisis. That's our God, saying yes to the little things, and he gives you much. I'll see you tomorrow.